Hey Cowboys Nation! Welcome back to Cowboys News TV, where we keep you up to date with everything Dallas Cowboys. Today, we've got a loaded topic to dive into, and trust me, this one's going to get some conversations going in the comments. Let's talk about the struggles we saw in the Cowboys' recent game against the 49ers and whether some big decisions on defense could have changed the game for us. Before we jump in, if you're passionate about Cowboys football and want to stay in the know, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Let's hit our goal of 12,000 subscribers. Your support means a ton, and it's what keeps us bringing you the latest in Cowboys news. Alright, let's kick things off with Dak Prescott. There's no sugarcoating it, Dak had a rough game. With 2 major interceptions, he put the Cowboys in a tough spot against the 49ers. Some fans are even saying that was one of the worst games they've seen from Dak, especially looking at his performances across the last 7 games. What do you guys think? Was this just a bad day, or are there bigger issues with Dak this season? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts on this. Actually, let's get a quick poll going. Do you believe Dak is still the right leader for the Cowboys this season? Vote below or drop your take in the comments. Now, while Dak's performance is one side of the story, we've got to talk about the defense. Cowboys defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer has had some real challenges getting our defense to click, and this game exposed it. Despite San Francisco missing some key offensive players, they still ran all over us, totaling nearly 500 yards. And get this, over 200 of those yards were on the ground. Let's be fair to Zimmer here, if your defensive line isn't holding up, it's nearly impossible to stop the run. And when we're missing a big player like Micah Parsons in the pass rush? Yeah, things are bound to get messy. But the real frustration for fans is that Zimmer waited too long to make changes that could have kept us in the game. Quick question for you guys. Do you think Zimmer deserves more time to figure this out, or should we be looking for fresh ideas on defense? Let us know what you think. Alright, here's where things get really interesting. One of the biggest complaints from this game was about safety Donovan Wilson. Zimmer stuck with Wilson, even though it was clear he was struggling big time. From the very start, Wilson had trouble keeping up with tight end George Kittle, who was actually dealing with an injury coming into the game. But even with Kittle slowed down, Wilson couldn't keep up. Kittle managed multiple huge gains, including a 43-yard catch in the third quarter that helped San Francisco take control of the game. And it wasn't just that play, Kittle left Wilson in the dust again and again. In fact, Wilson allowed over 100 receiving yards on his own, with a good chunk of that coming after the catch. No other Cowboy gave up more than 59 yards in coverage. To add to the frustration, Wilson didn't even get fully benched. Backup safeties Wanya Thomas and Marquise Bell only played a few snaps each, while Wilson stayed on the field for 65 snaps. Imagine if we'd made that swap earlier, who knows how the game might have turned out. So here's a question. Would you have benched Wilson after those early mistakes, or kept him in like Zimmer did? And who do you think should start in his place if we do make a switch? Drop your thoughts below. Looking forward, the Cowboys have some big decisions to make, especially on defense. With Wilson struggling, maybe it's time to give Thomas or Bell a shot as starters. Malik Hooker, his running mate, hasn't exactly been on fire either. Making a switch might be just what we need to shake things up. But this isn't just about Wilson or one bad game. The Cowboys need a plan to address the defense as a whole. Zimmer has to find ways to improve that pass rush, especially if Parsons is going to be out. And the defensive line? They have to step it up against the run. The 49ers ran right through us, and if we want to contend, that has to stop. So, what would you do if you were in charge of the Cowboys' defense? Would you give Wilson another shot, or start fresh with Thomas or Bell? And do you think our pass rush can bounce back if Parsons is out for longer? Sound off in the comments. We want to hear all your takes. Alright, Cowboys fans, that's a wrap for today's video. There's a lot to think about, and it's clear the team has some big decisions ahead. If you want to stay on top of all the latest Cowboys news and analysis, make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Help us reach that 12,000 subscriber mark. Your support means everything to us, and we can't do it without you. If you're new here or haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Let's reach that goal of 12,000 subscribers together. We can only keep bringing you this content with the support of fans like you, so thank you for being part of the team. So, let's talk Dak. We all know Dak Prescott is a leader on this team, but the last game was tough for him, no doubt. 2 major interceptions against the 49ers really put the Cowboys in a bind. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, is Dak the reason we lost? Well, it's fair to say that Dak's performance was one of the factors, but what's concerning is that this season, he's had more struggles than usual, especially compared to his earlier seasons. Through 7 games, Dak's numbers haven't been great, and we're seeing mistakes that, at this point in his career, he shouldn't be making. But let's remember, this was against a strong 49ers team that brought their A-game. So, what's the solution? Is it about refining the strategy around him, or does Dak need to make some adjustments on his end? Let's throw a question to you all. Do you think Dak can bounce back and finish this season strong, or is it time for a bigger shakeup? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and we'll highlight some of your responses in our next video. Alright, let's talk defense, because this game really highlighted some serious issues on that side of the ball. Mike Zimmer, our defensive coordinator, has had a rough go this season. Despite some decent starts, like we saw in the first half against the 49ers, everything fell apart in the third quarter. San Francisco went on to score 3 touchdowns in that single quarter alone. That's almost unheard of, especially for a team that started out looking solid. Zimmer's main challenge has been finding ways to adapt when things start to go south. This game is a perfect example. The 49ers racked up almost 500 total yards, with 223 of those on the ground. And that's despite having some key players out. So, it's hard not to wonder, what's the missing piece here? Could Zimmer have made some earlier adjustments to stop the bleeding? In his defense, no pun intended, there's only so much you can do when the defensive line isn't stopping the run, and we all know the impact of not having Micah Parsons on the pass rush. But still, Zimmer's responsibility is to make those crucial calls, and waiting too long to bench struggling players cost us here. So, let's take it to you, Cowboys Nation. Should we give Zimmer more time to find his groove, or would it be better to start exploring other options on defense? Comment your thoughts, we're listening. Now, here's where things get controversial. One of the biggest criticisms from fans after this game was about safety Donovan Wilson. Zimmer chose to keep Wilson on the field, even though it was clear he was struggling against San Francisco's star tight end, George Kittle. Now, Kittle was already playing through a foot injury, but despite that, Wilson just couldn't keep up. Kittle managed to snag multiple big plays, including a massive 43-yard catch that set up a crucial touchdown for the 49ers. And this wasn't just a one-time thing, it was happening repeatedly. In total, Wilson allowed over 100 receiving yards on just 4 targets, with a big portion of those yards coming after the catch. To put that in perspective, no other Cowboy allowed more than 59 yards in coverage. This shows just how much Wilson was struggling, yet Zimmer didn't fully bench him. What makes this decision even more questionable is that the backup safeties, Wanya Thomas and Marquise Bell, barely saw the field. Both players logged just 3 snaps each, while Wilson stayed in for 65 snaps. Imagine if one of them had stepped in earlier, would the result have been different? So, here's a question for you all. Should Zimmer have benched Wilson sooner, and who do you think should start moving forward? Should we stick with Wilson and hope he improves, or give Thomas or Bell a shot? This decision could be a game-changer moving forward, so let us know your take. Beyond just one game, though, there are bigger issues to tackle on defense. With Micah Parsons out, our pass rush hasn't been the same, and the defensive line has been struggling against the run. These aren't quick fixes, and Zimmer needs a solid plan if we're going to see improvement in the coming weeks. One big question fans are asking is if the team should consider making some roster changes. Perhaps look at the trade market or even promote someone from within who could bring new energy to the defense. But whatever the solution is, the Cowboys need to make it quick. We can't afford more games like this one if we want to stay in the playoff hunt. Here's a quick poll for you guys. What do you think the Cowboys should focus on fixing first? The run defense, the pass rush, or should we be making moves on the roster? Cast your vote in the comments, and let's see where Cowboys Nation stands. So, looking ahead, there are some big questions the Cowboys need to answer, especially if we want to turn this season around. The offense has its issues, and Dak needs to find his rhythm, but right now, the defense is where we need to see immediate improvement. A strong, cohesive defense is what's going to give us a shot in those tough games. Zimmer and the rest of the coaching staff have some critical calls to make. Do they stick with players like Wilson who are struggling, or take a risk with someone new? Do they push for a stronger run defense strategy, or put more focus on getting that pass rush back in shape? Each decision has huge implications for how this season will turn out. Alright, Cowboys fans, that's it for today's breakdown. It's clear we're facing some big challenges, but there's still time to turn things around. So, what changes would you make if you were in charge? Who would you start, who would you bench, and what areas would you focus on fixing? Drop your answers in the comments, because we want to hear from all of you. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date with every Cowboys update, recap, and news drop. We're aiming for 12,000 subscribers, and we'd love to have each of you along for the ride. Thanks for tuning in to Cowboys News TV, and as always, let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Stay strong, Cowboys Nation, and we'll see you in the next video.